Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, Pitch. A short overview. This is going to be a very brief seminar. We're covering only 3-4 topics here today. And the topics are changing a little bit from webinar to webinar, so you may want to check in because we are including new topics based on the feedback that we receive from the participants and from the questions that are being exchanged here and in the Facebook group. So we will cover what is a business case, just to get everybody grounded, what should go in a business case. The reason why I bring this up is I still get a lot of questions from both the startup area as well as the corporate area, where people find themselves in a situation where they're being asked to put a concrete business case together. So we will cover that. Secondly, what is a pitch? What should go in a pitch, ideally? And then I will share about the top 10 tips, general tips that I have for you when preparing such a presentation and when you're going in front of your audience or decision maker. Then I open up for Q&A here. Just to let you know, this webinar was designed for both the enterprise and the entrepreneurial sector. We also have people here from the public NGO sector. So there are a lot of government agencies who are looking into this topic and want to find out how to, let's say, advance the innovation ecosystem in their country. The replay will be made available on our YouTube channel. So check for Wittigonia on YouTube. There you find the latest videos. And also in your inbox, you'll find an email with a link to the replay fairly shortly after the session. There are more detailed briefings and courses in the online academy. So related to this topic, there is a new briefing training series starting right now. Participants can join at any point in time. It's both a self-paced learning exercise or experience, as well as some group coaching where we handle some questions and do regular clinics for those people who want to engage on that topic. After the webinars, and between the webinars, we're also using the Facebook group. It's called Shape Growth. This was an initiative that I started last year with a major roadshow through some international countries, and we have a Facebook group there, so feel free to use that. My name is Thomas Wittig. I am the founder CEO of Wittigonia, company based in Zurich, and working with clients on innovation, transformation, and growth topics. Regionally or geographically distributed over several areas, as well as in different sectors. So it can range from everything from ICT, the e-health area, and other areas. We started to support the innovation ecosystem with more specific programs last year. So here's a short selection of some initiatives that we started last year, continuing into this year, and also some new initiatives. I'm looking very much forward to engage with the communities. And the experience and expertise is fairly broad. My actually personal experience started in a startup in the late 80s, which was called Microsoft, which became a major development and success story. So I'm very grateful for that experience. And there are many other companies, policymakers, governmental bodies, but specifically entrepreneurs and innovators in the corporate sector. So that is the sweet spot of what we are doing here. The roadmap for the short webinar, very simple. We will cover case, pitch, tips, tricks, and Q&A. And it will be great also if you could, let's say, spread the word to your communities. The more people we have in this seminar, the better it is. And also check out the related offers that we have. So if you would like to share the word, that will be great. We actually sometimes make it easy for people to tweet it by just including a tweet button here on the webinar. So feel free to do that while listening and kicking back and listening and watching. The online course, as I mentioned before, for those who just came in a little bit earlier, a little bit later, includes video briefings, step-by-step guides, tools, templates. So it changes depending on the questions from the audience. But check in, it's going to be a great experience. The business case, let's dive into that. Ideally, the business case should drive a decision. So that's what it is all about. We're using business cases for general decision proposals in the business area, innovation area, for project proposals, product development activities, campaigns, investment proposals, and change management, and even organizational change. So I worked in and with some organizations who have major change programs going on, and they require more and more that people develop a thorough business case, which means that it would be, let's say, a very detailed exercise to be clear about the implications, the consequences, and the benefits, of course. So the outcome of a business case ideally should be first and foremost a yes or no decision. I think there's nothing worse than maybe or maybe not or later. So it would be good if you have clarity, if you can go forward or not. But along with that, it's also important to have a resource commitment. So make sure that you're not only getting the go, but really all the support that you can get. And number 3, empowerment. So it's not worthwhile if you have to check back every 5 minutes to see if you can do certain things, if you can make decisions. So, and also from a manager perspective, we actually have a lot of team managers or managers participating in these webinars, and the feedback there is they say, oh yes, we want our people to go forward, and if the framework is clear, then they can go ahead and charge ahead and implement the initiative. So these 3 cornerstones are really important to that you want to get out of a business case. What should go into a business case? So, of course, you would do an executive summary, situation analysis, and then a very detailed proposal that answers all the key questions: who, what, when, where, how, and how much, and along with it, an implementation plan. Here on the right side is a little a grid, a table, a screenshot, which I took from another related course. That's going to be part of the pitch training course, and I'm going to walk you through the exact process and give you some, let's say, guidance based on the experience and successful practices, how to put it together. Putting a really good business plan, business case together is not so easy at times. So the question is always where to start, what to do then, how you get back to certain areas later, etc. Until it's really watertight and bulletproof, there's a lot of effort that goes into this. So I will walk you through a step-by-step guide there, and also go into the very much details on specifically the point that most people struggle with is, of course, the implementation plan. So how to do it, because here it's all about budget, schedule, etc. And especially the financial plan has to be super solid. Otherwise, the decision makers don't feel comfortable. And remember, we want to also win them over as active supporters of our initiative, of course. The pitch. We often hear about pitches. So there are several ways to do pitch. The outcome of a pitch would be to get an engagement, an active interest in whatever you are going to do and propose. And pitches are meant also for decision makers. So it could be board, the CEO or C-level team, policy makers, your direct managers, or investors. And you probably heard about the elevator pitch, which is basically a 1-minute pitch. The idea is that if you meet your decision maker coincidentally or not in a elevator, and you have a 1-minute elevator ride, you should be able to bring your idea across in a minute or less, so that people say, okay, it sounds interesting, and want to learn more about it. And then, of course, there are different forms. I will speak about that in a short while, which form is suitable. But in terms of the outcome and engagement, what ideally you want to walk away with is that somebody says, yes, okay, I understand, sounds really interesting, and tell me more. I'm prepared to discuss the details. So could be something interested where we would be willing to invest in, or I'd like to give it a go as a corporate initiative. Now, these are the small stepping stones that you have to get to. And of course, getting there is not easy. And sometimes even getting in front of your decision maker is not easy. Keep in mind that a typical, let's say, investor, if it's let's say, professional investor and not let's say, a casual investor who is doing investments once in a while. So the professional ones, they really have a high throughput there. So they might, I just talked to one company who is looking at thousands of proposals every year, and they make less than 10 investments in specific companies. So the chances that you will get a go there is very slim. And you would have to talk to a lot of investors and give them maybe even different pitches. So it's really important to understand how to get to yes, how to get to a commitment, and how to advance the discussion. The pitch content has to be to the point and very brief. So make sure that you describe in a very succinct way what is the problem that you are actually trying to solve with your solution. What are the opportunities that you can go after? Why is your solution better? And we hear often the USP, unique selling proposition, but I would rephrase that and call it the unique benefits proposition, because that is much more customer focused. It's not about how do you sell, but what is it that the customer and the audience really needs. Then, of course, you have to provide a sense of the business model, KPIs, team, investment, and vision. Now, the pitch should be based on the business case. I showed that before, and that is an important topic, of course. Let's walk through the top 10 tips and tricks that I have prepared. So this is based on experience with many different stakeholders, both in the corporate world as well as the startup and scale up pitching world, if you want, the founder scene. But first and foremost, I cannot emphasize this high enough: know your numbers. And what I mean by that is really know everything left and right. The market, the product, the funnels. By that I mean the marketing funnel, the sales funnel, what is core and context to your product, the key assumptions, what is the competitor doing right now, who are the key competitors, why are they better, where are they really weak. I mean, don't come with a 4-quadrant slide and just put your dot in the upper right hand quadrant. That's really fairly boring, I would say. So come up with great ideas and figure out very specifically why your solution is better. And also, I would emphasize the key detailed metrics. I'm still running into a lot of pitches where people don't have really their act together, and they don't know what is their customer acquisition cost, what are the current lifetime values that you accomplish with your business model, the rate, the recurring revenue, etc., etc. And so it's very difficult to have an informed discussion if you don't bring this information to the presentation. So do yourself and do your audience a favor and do the homework before. Otherwise, could be very embarrassing if your counterpart seems to know more about your business and business model than you do. What if scenarios? Key topic. Very rarely will you hit the numbers on the spot. So if you say we're going to achieve 70% margin or 27.5 or whatever it is. That rarely happens, looking forward. So the prudent way here is to show a risk and return range and potential scenarios. I call these potential future scenarios. And really the more interesting part about this and the more important part is to know the levers and drivers. So what is driving a certain scenario? Now, what do I mean by that? I brought this here from another case study, which you can actually also follow. I talk about this in the other webinars, Exit with Impact, and how to de-risk your project, which you can now find also on the YouTube channel. Here's an example of, let's say, a sample project. And let's say the proposal says, okay, we're going to have around 7K per deal that we're bringing in. Now, but if I really take a look at the distribution over the range of potential deal sizes here, it can be as low as 1,000 euro, dollars, Swiss francs, whatever you want, or as high as 10,000. So it's really important to understand the variation, not just the key KPIs on the point. Now, as a decision maker, why is that important? Well, on one hand, I'm interested in my risk exposure, and I'm interested in what are really the odds of failure or success. So is it more likely to win with this business model, or are we putting too much at risk here with going after this? Then I'm interested in what is the likelihood of success, right? Now, you might say, okay, nobody can really say when you start such a thing, but there are ways to narrow that down step by step. And I'm walking you through this also in the training class, of course. And the contribution in case of success is key. So what that means is basically, okay, if this project is successful, what would be the contribution in terms of revenue, customer base, profitability, EBITDA margin, etc. Because at the end of the day, your proposal is competing with other proposals. So the manager, the decision maker, policy maker has to pick the proposal that has the highest impact at the lowest risk. So that's the point that we have to bring across. Next topic. There's nothing worse than if people fumble around with the presentations right at the beginning. So make sure you have the presentation locked and loaded beforehand, have a backup PC, a USB stick, all of that, plan A, B, and C, and have it in different formats, because sometimes you find that, say people just have a laptop there, which might be a MacBook, and they're using different formats for their slideshows. So make sure you have a PDF, PowerPoint, or whatever preferred format you're using. Reality checks, favorite topic. So when I'm looking at proposals, I of course do reality checks on one hand in my head, of course, and sometimes I'm really doing the numbers behind this. And the question is always, okay, what I'm seeing here in terms of a proposal, can it be? Is it really realistic? Can we do it? Is it feasible? So I want to spend a couple of words on that topic. First of all, what is a feasible plan, right? Roughly saying, feasible plan means that your capabilities are in balance with the requirements. Now, what that actually means is, if you, for example, have laid out a project plan, you say, I need so many development hours or tasks to fulfill, then you need to have the capacity and the productivity behind it. This is a very easy to do things, but I see a lot of plans where people have, let's say, great development efforts, but then if you compare that to the available capacity, both internally and maybe outsourced capacity, and their throughput, their productivity, and then you're scratching your head and say, like, okay, that sounds like a key risk. They're never going to hit their milestones. So this could be really a never-ending story. Are we willing to put our investment and time into this? So also along with that, make sure to check your growth rates. That is really important. Growth rates basically mean that you understand, for example, the doubling time. I brought here this example, which is a very typical example. So let's say the company would start with 50 customers, let's say B2B customers, for example. And of course, the curve looks nice and everybody likes these kind of curves. But the question is really, if, for example, you ask yourself, what is the doubling time? Now, in this scenario, it would be every 9 months, roughly speaking, right? So it changes, of course, over time. But now the question is really, can you deliver against that? That is the key question. So if not, then I would go back to the drawing board and see what you can do and what you can do in order to deliver against that, or let's say revise your plan, because the presentation and running a business case, or the project based on a business case, is also about credibility. The more credible you are, the better you hit your numbers, the more resource allocation you will get at the end. So it's a simple phenomena: success to the successful. Be concise. I would say, yeah, storytelling is key. Speak about the buyer personas and everything like that. That's okay, but really don't tell me any fairy tales. Don't take me on a journey here. So don't overdo it. I've seen presenters spending a lot of time on that at the beginning, and then when the time is up, let's say they have a 5 to 10 minutes pitch in a pitching contest, and you have not brought your points across, then that is not going to be so helpful for you. Orchestrated, and this is about team play, effective communication, and respect. So what I mean by that is, make sure that you have presented before as a team, and that you have a very effective way of supporting each other, and also of communicating with each other. Just cutting each other off and stumbling over each other, it's not going to be very helpful, because you're sending a message here that the team is not in sync, that the team is not aligned from various perspectives. Yeah. Body language is probably the most spoken, quote unquote, spoken language in the world, and everybody probably understands it in one way or another, either intuitively or more intentionally. Just to give a basic example, I was sitting in a pitching contest with jury president, and there was a great proposal from a team, but it was kind of a weird presentation, because there was a lady and a man. And suddenly the man took the word and basically was standing in front of his colleague and put his hands into the pockets and really was displaying kind of a strange attitude. And the jury people and some investors in the jury really are looking at each other and say, okay, what is this now, right? So you can ruin a great idea and a great business by not communicating effectively on all channels. And what these channels are, we are going to talk a little bit more about this in the webinar. Then research your audience. Very important to understand the interest, the experiences, also the network that people can bring along. I would definitely look at people's social profiles and LinkedIn profiles to see how they can potentially help and tap into your network and advance your idea if you're, for example, a startup entrepreneur. Also know their themes and priorities. So it's very easy to find out if you take a look at the investor's website and you look at their portfolio and their recent exits or their recent investments that they have made, then you get a sense of what they are up to. And most people actually talk about that very openly on their websites. Practice. Seize every pitching opportunity, especially in the beginning, in the early days, and make sure that you can use as many of these opportunities as it can, even if it's not about, let's say, winning a contest or let's say gaining access to investment at that point in time, but you will get a lot of feedback along the way. And more importantly, it helps you find your authentic and effective style and approach. And by style, I don't mean the beauty contest, but it's just your authenticity in the way you come across, in the way you're communicating, to find yourself in this scenario. Very important. Objection handling, there's a ton of questions that you will have to handle and face. And my general advice here is don't make it up, don't fake it. It is okay to say, I don't know, but then you must follow up. This is also, let's say, a certain test from the investor community or the decision maker. Are people really serious about this topic? Then I should receive from them a note with the follow-up, let's say with a data point or a screenshot or whatever it is they were asking for. And that is really key. And I see that being handled effectively in actually some regions more than others. Take it serious and have fun at the same time. So that's my last advice here. So in the long run, people regret what they have not done in their life. So just go after it and, make sure that you drive forward, but also have a lot of fun in what you are doing. Okay, before I open up to the Q&A, just a brief reminder, and here's our contact information, so you can reach us email, or you can find the form on the website on wittigonia.com. The replay will be made available for those of you who came in a little bit later. Replay will be made available on our YouTube channel, Wittigonia, but also in the briefing centers, for example, in Briefing Center Shape Growth, which is a free of charge briefing center. And there we also have, let's say, some discussion groups for people who want to ask questions a little bit more in private. After this session and between the webinars, I am screening and answering some questions on the Facebook community Shape Growth. So feel free to go to that page and follow the page. And now I would like to open for Q&A. So let's see if we have a couple of questions from the audience. Yes, so let's see. There's one question here which I actually got in the last three webinars as well, about cultural differences in organizations. So that seems to be a key topic right now. Actually, the way I answered it in the last webinar is as follows. There are two ways to look at cultural differences. One is cultural differences in terms of, let's say, regions or the way how people communicate and work with each other in different regions of the world. So, for example, in North America, different than Europe and Asia. And the second angle that I would look at it is the different way of working in different parts of the organization. For example, in development, you have a different way of working than sales and marketing. And this applies more to, I would say, to larger organizations where there's, let's say, usually the cross-group collaboration on cooperation, a key topic. Now, looking at the way of working through these exercises and also to take your proposals forward, I think this is a universal way of working. So the business case is actually a great way to bring people together at the table and to contribute to, let's say, the proposal. Because at the end of the day, you need to combine the different perspectives, be it the marketing, product development, product marketing, and the downstream implications in terms of, for example, your customer success teams. So it's very important to bring that together, because if I have only one chance to present a proposal and it doesn't reflect, let's say, in a good 360-degree view, what all the implications are, then the chances that I get a go with the project are minimized. So make sure that you bring everybody together. So I think this is a great way to align the teams and align all the efforts. So here's another question: how do I get in front of a decision maker? Well, there's no easy answer to that. It's a topic actually we're covering in the course in much detail. But of course, you don't want to show up there, let's say, out of the blue, but really prepare for it. So ideally, you develop the relationship earlier before you show up with your proposal, and you warm up the discussion in a certain way so that people are not so surprised. Sometimes it's good to be surprised or to surprise the others during pitching sessions, public pitching sessions, and then you will certainly be surrounded by a lot of people if the case is interesting. But really, in order to get in front of key decision makers, it really requires that you prepare for that very effectively. You cannot just show up there and ask for 5 minutes, and that's not very, very useful. So there's a topic which I'm sometimes covering in the online training class. It's the route to the decision makers, and that's an important topic, especially in the corporate or public sector world. Yeah, so not so many questions here today. Another one was about the training. Can we do that for teams? Yes, of course. You can either participate in the open training, or also what we do is private briefing rooms and private briefing sessions for teams. Can also be on site depending on where the company is located and if that's useful. Okay. Yes, I think that's pretty much it for today. I know that some of the questions will come afterwards, after the webinar, so feel free to post your question in the Facebook group. And yeah, so then I would like to wish you good luck, and hope to see you soon in one of our next sessions or live webinars or live meetings. You can follow us on social media. Just look for Wittigonia on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And there you will find it, and there we make announcements. Sign up for the newsletter so that you receive the notifications for the upcoming webinars. Thank you very much, and good luck, everybody.